For this week's announcement, we're going to do it again in video format. And for this week's announcement, I've provided 7 slides that will help you with your signature assignment. And if you have already started your signature assignment, which many of you I'm sure have, then please use this video announcement as a final check before your submission. So here we go. I want to first review the overall goal of doing qualitative research. And the overall goal of doing qualitative research is that you're describing the nature of a setting, a group of people, a culture. So it's very descriptive in nature. Whereas quantitative research is very predictive in nature. So predictive meaning there are variables and you're trying to draw correlations between those variables. And so as you examine the research question, you should be asking yourself, is this a truly a qualitative research study, or are there elements of quantitative study in it? And you would get a good sense of that by looking at the research question. Okay, Patton's book, page 97 through 99, has a list of commonly used qualitative research methods. And so when you are evaluating the chapter 3 for your signature assignment, my hope is that, the method they chose is on this list. However, there is a potential that it's not on this list, right? So Patton's going to describe what are the commonly used methods, but there are many other methods, such as a case study or something like that. And if it's a method that's not on here, you're going to have to go online and do a little bit more reading on the method that they chose to use. The readings for Module 3 are extremely important for the signature assignment. So for Module 3, we asked you to read Chapter 5 of the Patton book, which focuses on designing qualitative studies. There's a focus there on data collection and sampling strategies. And then Chapter 9 of the Patton book focuses on enhancing the quality and credibility of qualitative data. And here the focus is on increasing the rigor of the study through triangulation and credibility. So those two are really good chapters to review and also cite, I would say, for your signature assignment. So here's the assignment description. You're to go to the online database, search for 3 to 5 published dissertations that relate to your research interest, and utilize qualitative methods. It must be a qualitative study. We don't want you to analyze a quantitative study. It must be a qualitative study. Scan through the dissertation and select one that you feel has the strongest qualitative methods, which is typically Chapter 3. Write a paper covering the 3 parts below. The entire paper cannot exceed 10 pages, excluding the title page and reference pages. And I want to make sure that you do not go over 10 pages because you will actually get points deducted for that. So be concise, do not go over 10 pages. The first part of the paper is just a description of the overview of the study. It's not intended to be an analysis, but rather just a one-page description about the study. And here you can pull information from like Chapter 1, the background, the introduction. You can describe the setting of the study a little bit, but it's not intended to be an exhaustive attempt at analyzing the paper. Just give an overview of what the study is about. In Part 2, we change gears dramatically here, and we're focused now on the evaluation of these components of the Chapter 3. And so evaluation starts with describing what they did, but the analysis and the evaluation part is a lot more rigorous in terms of what you need to do. So in other words, don't just describe and regurgitate what the researcher did. You must analyze and evaluate whether they did it well or not. Okay? So the different components that we want you to look at are the purpose statement, research question, research design, methodology, and again, refer back to page 97 through 99 of your Patton book, strengths and limitations, validity and reliability, sampling procedures, participant selection, site selection, and types of data. And so I'm going to break this all down for you and provide some suggestions on how you can organize this better, and also provide some approaches to working with some of these parts. So here we go. In terms of organization, I highly recommend using APA leveled headings. So anything that's like a part 1 or part 2 or part 3 would get an APA level 1 heading. Okay. And in part 2, it's broken up into various smaller components. So I would highly suggest using an APA level 2 heading for each of these smaller settings, or smaller parts, I mean. Okay. And you can refer to your APA manual or visit the OWL Purdue website, which has lots of examples of how to use leveled headings. In fact, the Brandman APA paper template has the styles buttons already created for you, and so you can feel free to use that template for this assignment as well. So the methodology suggestion refers to using pages 97 through 99 as a starting point to evaluate the method that they chose. So in other words, you can't evaluate it until you situate yourself in a published, cited definition of that method. And a good place to start is pages 97 through 99. See if the method they chose is on that page, on those pages, then refer to the subsequent pages for more detail on information about those methods. So start with a definition of the method and base your evaluation of how well the author utilized that method based on that definition that you provided in your paper. Again, for some other parts, the validity and reliability should be defined first and then evaluated. And also sampling. Define it from text and then describe whether the author, the sampling procedures, if they're appropriate or not. Okay. And oftentimes they are appropriate, but there are perhaps better ways to do it. So you might also recommend some better ways to work with the sampling. All right. So the approach to writing this: describe first, but focus on the critique. Ask yourself, did the researcher achieve the goal for each of these sections? Is there room for improvement? And if so, please share. So I'll give you an example. There is one section in there for strengths and limitations. And so, as we all know, one limitation of doing qualitative research is that the researcher is the instrument of study. So you can basically, go through the limitation section, and if they didn't address that, well, that would be an easy one to recommend in your evaluation, is that, this researcher did not address this issue of the researcher being the instrument of study, and you can, write a short paragraph on what it looks like if they did. Time is oftentimes a limitation because if you had more time to do the study, you probably can get more data. And so, for example, if you're doing observations and you only observe for 30 minutes because that's all the time you had to do it, perhaps a 2-hour observation might yield richer data, or frequencies of the observations can also be a time factor. So if the researcher only observed, maybe 3 settings over a 1-week period, is that a good snapshot of what's happening on the ground? And if not, then you can say, potentially time could be an additional limitation. And sample size, right? So if the study is limited to a small sample size, is the sample size representative of the population? So population is the big N, sample size is the little n, sample is the little n, and usually the sample is a good indication of what's happening in the population. So although we say, qualitative research is not predictive in nature, the sample size should still be somewhat representative of the overall population. So you can analyze that and evaluate it. And so I want to give you the limitations as an example here to talk you through what it means to evaluate some of these sections. Then finally, in part 3, the alternative methods section, go back to page 97 and 99 of the patent book and see if there is a better qualitative tradition or a qualitative method that can be applied to this study. Define it, tell us about the alternative method, and tell us why it might be an appropriate alternate method. So ask yourself, how might you write the methods chapter better? Consider how you might write this chapter better to improve it based on the analysis and evaluation. That's the overall question you should be asking in parts 2 and 3. Is there room for improvement? And if so, what does that look like? So hopefully that helps. I hope you can use this video and these suggestions as a final check for your signature assignment before you submit. Thank you for working with this, and we are encouraging you to dive deep into qualitative research, and we're nearing the half-point mark of our qualitative research classes, and so use these skills and also apply them to the Module 4 assignment, which is designing your mini study.